What's up? It's Genesis, and today we're going to look at how to make some bleepy bloopy sounds, just like my track DROYDZ. As well as my other track, BIONIC BEAM. Both of these songs are already out in my Mechanical Warfare EP, released under Oblivion audio, which I'll link to the description below. Okay, so let's get straight into it. In order to make these sounds, there's a simple concept you need to get behind. And this concept is to take high frequencies and bring them down to a more audible and tonal level, and then to shape it out with a vocoder. So I'm going to show you how to do it in two different ways, one with a synth and one with samples. And I'm going to start with the sample way because that is what I'm used to, and this is how I found this kind of sound design technique for me. So usually I like to take kick drums for this, because this way you can control the artificial high frequencies that you're going to add in later. Let's say we've got a good old 707 kick, right? Classic kick drum from a classic drum machine. And we're going to take this kick drum and we're just going to stretch it to Oblivion. Pun not intended, but I'm going to stretch out this sound by turning on warp mode and either holding shift and then dragging the end of the sample, or by selecting the first yellow point and then increasing this BPM slider over here. I like doing it this way with the shift. It doesn't really matter how far you stretch it. Even stretching it to the highest BPM like 999 is fine, but I believe as long as it's around about over half of its length, then it should be fine. So let's say about here. This is like the minimum you can stretch it out to, I feel like, and anywhere in between from that and beyond is pretty fine. So I'm just going to stretch it out to this much. Next thing you need to do is to change the stretching algorithm from beats mode to texture mode. And just as it is right now, this is how this kick drum sounds like right now. So what we're going to do now is turn on the flux and the grain size, and then we get this tone. We can already do something with this by turning up the transposition knob. And then we get these really high pitches. Ooh, I like that. And depending on the waveform that you choose, you can get different kind of textures on top of that. Like for example, when I set the transposition knob of this sample to 38 semitones, we get this additional gritty undertone, and that's because of this kind of point here. It starts to trigger that sound, and this is why I choose kicks, because if we use something like a clap, it can get a bit too much. And those additional jittering textures can make it harder to get a desired tone later on, especially if it's stereo. That'll make it really, really difficult to hone in on specific bloopy sounds. So I'm just going to stick to this, transpose up, and then I'm going to introduce some more movement to the sound by going to the envelopes tab with this automation button over here, and I'm just going to introduce a pitch envelope. Let's say about here. At this point, it's about trusting yourself and finding points where you think might work. I'm going to stick with this, and then I'm going to control the length of the sound. And let's say that's our input sound. From here, all we're going to do is we're going to snap a frequency shifter on there and a vocoder. I'm going to change the vocoder settings to modulator and change the bands to 40, and I'm also going to change the lowest frequency of this range to about 200 or 260 in this case. Maybe even higher, I feel like 300. Release down and depth all the way up. And then it's all about this frequency shifter now. We're just going to put it all the way down, and you can already hear we have a nice short bloopy sound, which is also pretty controlled. Without the vocoder, it sounds like this. And we can also let this note ring out a little bit more. And then we can change the pitch envelope as well to get different tonalities and stuff. And that's the main premise of the sound, pretty much. From here on out, you can do some more post-processing. Let's say we're going to add a corpus to give it some tonal delay. And let's say we want it in the key of E. And there's a good old sound we can use already. So that's pretty much the main premise of this sound design technique, but with a sample. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to quickly make a short loop with this sound, just for the sake of this video. So you've got this sound here. And then maybe on the second half, we'll add some variation, this time by changing the transpose knob. Maybe. There's a bit of a click, so I'm going to add a fade in there. It's about that much. And it gets quieter, so I'm going to push it up. And I'm going to change this other one. Maybe by changing this envelope here. Finding a sweet spot. Nice. I'm just going to repeat that. I'll quickly add some width to it with those on Imager. Alright, now let's start using a synth to add another layer. And I'm going to show you the same premise, but with the synth of course. And I'm going to use Operator because it's pretty much the main synth I use anyways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this note play in the sub region. So really low octaves here. And then I'm going to introduce some really high frequencies with this FM. And then one more. There we go, now we got some high frequencies. And then let's introduce some movement with this fourth oscillator. Like this. I'm going to also make this note a bit shorter. And control it like this. And maybe add some more movement, but pitch-wise. And let's make it really quick. Like that. And then the same principle applies. I'm going to get a frequency shifter and a vocoder. And I'm going to use this frequency shifter to bring those really high frequencies down and get some interesting tonal kind of qualities to it. I'm going to introduce even more. There's no rules to this, so sometimes I might just use like a bunch. Like this. What I'm looking for right now is some interesting tonality. I feel like the way this note fizzles out is pretty cool, but the level is pretty quiet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an EQ behind it, and I'm going to boost those mids so it can stand out in that vocoder a little bit more. Like that. And then add an erosion as well to get some high frequencies back. Bring back some of the release so we get some nice tail to it. I guess that's good enough. So let's hear what we've got with these two layers. So I feel like this top layer is coming in a bit too early, so I'm going to do some signal delay. And if you want to know how this works, I've made a video on using delay for sound design, and I'll link that in the description below as well. or in the card on top right. I'm gonna add that corpus again and put it in E. Yeah, that's insane. I also want to give this underlying synth the same texture. Or something similar. Oh, that's cool there. Sick. I'm gonna use a limiter on here so it doesn't peak too much. Nice. Good enough. And then we could just make a drum groove on top of that. I feel like a snap would go crazy with this. That sounds insane, but maybe that higher end frequency is not desired. And I'll add my own reverb on top of that instead. Nice. Distort the whole drum bus. Kick drum can be a lot louder and lower in pitch. Nice. And of course I'm going to put these through some sidechain, just in case. And I'm going to color this orange, so I know that these are quote-unquote basses. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I feel like we can do one more thing to this. I also want to give this some reverb too. Tame that high end. I want this to have a lo-fi mix, now that I hear it in context. I'll also use an NU Decagon wrap to get some scoopy movement to it. And you can get this rack for free as well as the washout rack in my website, link in the description below. I want to use a very quiet hi-hat here. Even quieter than that. And lower in pitch. And then let's also give that some signal delay. And I feel like signal delaying the entire thing. So I'm going to duplicate this signal delay and put it here too. Ooh, wonky. Let's put this to 40 as well as this. And then I feel like using this as our ghost note delay. Again, explanation for how this works will be in the video in the description below. Okay, another one of those ozone imagers again. A lot better. And then finally let's add some sub. Run the key V. Draw some harmonics. Not too many. Envelope attack. 40 milliseconds. Sustain down by 4. Decay by 1.6 seconds. And then distort this with 3 different saturators so I can target different frequencies. Okay. And also sidechain from the kick. And now I'm just gonna do a simple rhythm like this on the sub. And turn this on sub red as well. Maybe I'll have a decay like this as well. I like how that tonality changes over time. Oh yeah. Nice. And of course, copy that signal delay as well, just so the sub's in time. And this is what we have. Maybe turn off the hi-hat. A lot better. Woo. And let's do one more layer of this same technique. I'm going to use the same kick, but maybe have this stretched out a bit more. And have it done like this. And change the pitch envelope a bit longer. Something like that. And change this one as well. Like that. Same thing here. Vocoder again, modulator mode. Bands. Range. Let's do 200 this time. Turn down those frequencies. Yeah, there we go. EQ. One more maybe. Oh, my ears. Like that. That's cool. Reverb on this thing. We go crazy, I feel like. Gonna compress it a bit first. Now reverb, yeah. Ooh, actually, I also feel like now adding this could go crazy. Oh yeah. There we go. And now this is the whole thing. Maybe this can go a little bit later. Signal delay to delay this whole thing. I'm also going to introduce this and then do this as well. Dynamics are a lot better, yeah. Woo! Spacey. But yeah, that's pretty much the main premise of this kind of sound design technique that I do every now and then. And that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to like and sub to buff my algorithm RNG, leave a comment if you have something to say, and maybe shout out someone you think would find this useful. You can further support me by checking out all my links in the description below, which will include my official website, my Discord, my Patreon, and other social medias. And speaking of Patreon, some of the sounds that I just made in this video will be available for patrons. I'd like to give a big shout out to Matt Whitelaw and Fuel Storer for being absolute legends. Thank you guys so much for supporting me on my Patreon. Once again, thanks a lot for watching, and stay creative. See you in a bit.